Have you ever noticed how, even in moments that should feel whole, your mind is elsewhere? A part of you is listening, but another part is already planning, remembering, worrying. You sit with a friend, but your thoughts wander to unfinished tasks. You watch the sunlight through a window, yet your attention fragments, flitting across memories, messages, obligations. It's subtle at first, almost invisible, and yet there's a quiet tension, like your awareness is stretched thin, a subtle hum of restlessness beneath your everyday life. This fragmentation isn't just distraction. It's a fracture of your sacred attention. Something within you, the natural capacity to inhabit the present, to meet your own life fully, is divided. Modern life has perfected ways to pull you apart, to fragment your awareness so that you exist in pieces. Each fragment feels important, urgent, or necessary, yet none of them fully grounds you. You are present in many places and nowhere at once. There's a subtle ache, a whisper of longing that something essential is slipping through your fingers, but you can't quite grasp it. The root of this division is ancient and subtle. It isn't external alone. It arises in your nervous system, in the ways your attention has learned to flee discomfort, uncertainty, or emptiness. It lives in the habit of skipping from thought to thought, emotion to emotion, relationship to relationship, without ever landing fully. And yet, the moment you notice this splitting, the moment you sense the gap, a quiet possibility appears, a space for something different, something whole, something real. You may feel caught between worlds, the world outside with its demands and distractions, and the inner world that seems perpetually unreachable. And this tension, this constant partial presence, is not just your experience. It is the experience of our time. The fracture of sacred attention, the divided mind, is one of the most profound wounds carried collectively and individually. How does this show up in daily life? Perhaps you notice it in conversation. You speak, but your responses are delayed by the weight of wandering thought. You nod, you laugh, you participate, but a portion of you is elsewhere, silently observing or judging or planning. Relationships feel shallow or intermittent. Even when someone is close, you might feel the distance of your own mind's partial absence. It appears in routines too. You brush your teeth while thinking of emails. You drink coffee while scrolling. You walk through a park but see it through the lens of something you are trying to remember or plan. Moments of stillness, when they occur, feel intrusive. The mind resists being fully present. It is used to fragmenting, scattering, performing. Emotionally, this creates a tension that is difficult to name. A subtle restlessness, a quiet anxiety, or a vague dissatisfaction settles in the chest. It's not always loud, it doesn't always call for action, but it shapes your experience like a shadow. You may feel the sense that life is passing, slipping, incomplete. Not because you are failing, but because your attention is divided, spread thin across demands, fantasies, memories, and anticipations. Energetically, there is a depletion that comes from this split. Energy does not flow freely when attention is scattered. The heart's presence is dimmed by the constant tug of the mind elsewhere. You may feel tired without reason, restless without clear triggers, or emotionally volatile because your system lacks coherent attention. Even existentially, this division reaches deeper. You may pursue meaning in fragments, jobs, hobbies, relationships, status, but the sense of internal unity, the experience of fully inhabiting your own life, remains elusive. This isn't laziness or distraction. It is the nervous system, the mind, and the subtle energy body reacting to a world built to fragment focus, built to keep attention scattered. Notice now, quietly, the way your mind divides. You do not need to change it, fix it, or analyze it. Simply observe. Watch how thought arises while another thought waits its turn. Sense the tension that comes when part of you is inside a moment and another part is elsewhere. Feel the subtle pull, the internal tug of war. You might recognize it in small bodily cues, a tightness in the chest when your mind is elsewhere, a sensation of disconnection in the spine, a light buzz of restlessness in your hands or feet. These are the whispers of your divided attention, the subtle language of fragmentation. Reflect on your emotional landscape. How often do you experience a mood or feeling only partially? How often is joy mixed with worry, presence with distraction, warmth with hesitation? Your emotions are mirrors of attention. Where attention divides, emotion divides. Where presence falters, subtle emptiness fills the gaps. Notice relationally as well. How often does your presence split in conversation, in touch, in shared moments? You may physically be there, but energetically, part of you drifts away. This is a sign of the sacred attention's fracture. It is not moral failure. It is not laziness. It is a natural consequence of being human in a world that continuously fragments focus. Even now, as you reflect, you may notice how attention slips in and out. A word arises, a thought intrudes, a feeling surfaces. You do not need to stop it. Simply notice the divided field of awareness. Recognition itself is the first moment of coherence, the first soft alignment of presence. The mind has been trained to scatter. The nervous system has adapted to fragmentation. Recognizing this, without judgment, allows subtle restoration to begin. Awareness alone begins to illuminate the gaps, make them less opaque, less overwhelming, and more approachable. Consider the cognitive dimension first. A mind divided is a mind split between what is and what is us. Thoughts flit between memory and anticipation. Reasoning is interrupted by emotion, and emotion is interrupted by sensation. This creates a landscape where focus is never complete and understanding is always partial. When the mind cannot inhabit a single moment fully, clarity itself is reduced. Each decision, each perception, each insight is fragmented. You may notice a pattern. Comprehension feels delayed, understanding feels layered, and internal dialogue is often conflicting. Emotionally, the division breeds a subtle tension. You may experience fleeting joy that cannot be sustained, or sadness that spreads unevenly. Emotional coherence relies on attention. When the sacred attention is fractured, emotion flows in disconnected currents, often leaving the body with unexplained weight or subtle unease. There is a dissonance between feeling and awareness, a mismatch that vibrates quietly through the chest, the gut, the heart. Energetically, a divided mind disturbs the natural rhythm of internal flow. Energy is not anchored in a moment, but dispersed. The heart, which thrives on sustained presence, loses coherence. Even simple interactions, greetings, meals, walks are subtly drained. Energy leaks from the gaps created by inattention, and a quiet fatigue accumulates, often without immediate cause. Relationally, this fragmentation creates a unique pattern of distance. You may notice yourself physically close to someone, yet emotionally or mentally distant. Conversations feel repetitive or shallow. You respond, but the response is partial, a projection of fragments rather than full engagement. This partial presence can strain intimacy, creating subtle misalignment in bonds, even with those who love you. Existentially, the divided mind erodes a sense of unity with life. Moments of meaning feel fragmented. Even spiritual experiences can be partial, interrupted, or fleeting. The sense of connection to self, others, and a broader existence is dulled. The sacred attention is not simply a cognitive tool. It is the vessel through which life itself is inhabited. When attention fragments, the vessel leaks. Modern life constantly encourages this division. Notifications, responsibilities, internal narratives, they all pull attention apart. Yet the fracture is not immutable. The very act of recognizing the division, tracing its manifestations in mind, body, emotion, and relationships, begins to call coherence back. Awareness itself is a subtle form of energetic recalibration. Notice, now, the soft currents of alignment that arise with recognition. A small anchoring in the chest, a slight settling in the mind, a sense of cohesion in the breath. Even the faint awareness of presence in fragments becomes a subtle form of coherence. The body may feel lighter, the chest may expand. The mind may pause, if only for a moment, allowing fragments to gather into a quiet center. This is it completion. It is a glimpse of the potential within a fractured mind. You do not need to force presence. You do not need to fix anything. Simply noticing, tracing, sensing, and being aware of the divided field begins to reweave the threads of attention. Each moment of subtle recognition carries an energy that recalibrates internal coherence. Presence is not a goal. It is a soft field emerging from awareness itself. Even now, as thought drifts and attention flits, a quiet space exists between the fragments. A space where the mind's division isn't a problem but a field to observe, to inhabit, to understand. There is a rhythm in the tension, a subtle pulse that can be felt without demanding action. The divided mind carries information. It speaks in gaps, in restless motions, in the quiet ache of partial presence. Watch, sensing, and existing alongside this division is itself an encounter with something deeper. Something essential waits, neither forced nor manufactured, simply present in the unfolding awareness. Fragments and gaps coexist. Awareness itself can inhabit them. In this coexistence, subtle restoration begins, not in completion, but in the quiet unfolding of noticing, the soft gathering of attention, and the gentle hum of presence that moves between the divided spaces.